Hi, my name's Guy Curtis. I'm the chair of the Academic Integrity Working Group at the University of Western Australia, and I'm an academic in the School of Psychological Science at the University of Western Australia. I'm an academic integrity enthusiast and researcher, and I'm making this video about ChatGPT and academic integrity with a view to my students in my classes seeing it, students at the University of Western Australia School of Psychological Science seeing it more generally, and then students anywhere else who might be interested, which is why I'm going to post this to YouTube. For people who haven't met me, you might just be seeing my video of my screen capture at this point. So I'm this guy up here. Yes, my name is Guy. It sucks. All right. So what I'm going to do is go to ChatGPT, which is something you can search for in Google and go straight to here, try ChatGPT. If you haven't used it before, it will ask you to log in. What you see on the ChatGPT page is some examples of the kinds of things that you can ask it or get it to do, like explain quantum computing in simple terms, give me some ideas for a birthday party, and so on. What it's capable of doing, so it can remember a conversation, it can provide follow-up, and it can decline inappropriate requests. So I'll show you why that's not quite right. And some of its limitations. So it may get things wrong, it may be biased or harmful, although I've not seen anything harmful come from it, that's certainly possible. And it's limited knowledge of events after 2021. So the letters here, GPT, stand for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. The pre-trained part means that it's had a whole bunch of information fed into this program. That's what it was trained on as a large language model. And that stuff is pre-2022, which is why it doesn't know much about things after 2021. Okay, so what can you do with ChatGPT? First of all, the way you interact with it is typing into the search bar that's down the bottom of the page here. What you can do is type in any kind of question or any kind of instruction, and it will do it. If we start with something like, will you do my homework for me, which it will probably treat as an inappropriate request, it will tell you that it can't. So this is showing you how it works straight up. I'm sorry, I can't do your homework for you. It's important for you to learn by yourself. Okay, so it'll go on, it'll keep typing and give you an explanation of why that is, hopefully fairly brief. All right, you can regenerate the response as many times as you like. It's trained to say that it won't do your homework for you. But if you're a psychology student, you might get a question in your exam that says something like, what is Pavlov famous for discovering? You can ask it that question. That question may even be your homework, and it will tell you Ivan Pavlov is famous for discovering classical conditioning, a type of learning which is based on association because of his experiments with dogs. It may or may not tell you in the answer that he got the Nobel Prize for Medicine for his scientific work, but regardless, it'll give you quite a lot of information that if you were given a really simple question like this in a test or in as an essay, you could copy and paste some of that answer into, or all of that answer into your test or essay. Now, this is where academic integrity comes in as a question. What do we know about copying and pasting things that we get off the internet? Well, one of the things that we know is to do that with academic integrity, you should cite your source. So if you were to copy and paste this answer into something, ideally you would put it in quotation marks, and you would put the source as ChatGPT, the year of publication being 2023, a link to the site and some other information such as that in your reference list. However, ChatGPT would be seen by your lecturers as not a great source of information. It's not necessarily a peer-reviewed source of information. So while that would be appropriate academic conduct to cite where you got this from, or if you revise it and paraphrase it, to not necessarily put it in quotation marks, but still cite where you got it from. It doesn't necessarily mean that you get good marks for using a source where the quality is not as good as what you might be able to get elsewhere. Nonetheless, like any website, you can quote out of ChatGPT, and if you do it indicating where that information has come from, you're not breaching academic integrity. Okay, so what are some of the useful features of ChatGPT? What can it do? What can't it do? Well, what it can do is it can write code. So write code for R, which is a statistics program, to conduct a regression analysis where X equals, let's see, height and, oops, I can't even spell right, but it'll probably fix that for me, and Y equals weight. There we go. Let's do that. Okay, so it's going to just write a simple regression, one variable predicting another, height being predicted by weight, and it's going to tell you how to do that in R, which is a statistics software that works with code. So now here it's giving you an example of how you might do that. You can copy the code and you can use that. And so this is really good for things where the coding becomes quite complicated. You can give it the names of your variables and you can do all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, now I teach a unit on industrial and organisational psychology, and I'll start to give you some examples based on that of what ChatGPT can do and where its limitations are. So let's just ask it what job analysis is good for. I'm going to leave my typo in on useful there and see if it just deals with that. Again, to give you some sense of its capabilities, I was wanting to ask what is job analysis useful for in the workplace. And now it's starting to give me an answer. Job analysis is useful for recruitment and selection. It'll probably say training and development, performance management, maybe legal compliance. I'm not really sure what's going to turn up on this list, but this is just stuff I would guess from what I know. Performance management, there you go. Occupational health and safety may come up. Okay, not sure. Compensation, great, yep, that's another one, more of a human resources-y kind of thing than a industrial psychology thing, but you can see here, it's giving you a nice big list. Okay, well, I'll leave that to keep going because it's not going to go very long. I'm talking from Australia. This obviously references an American Act. So one of the things that it does is uses the most common information it has in its database. It's probably more commonly getting stuff from America than Australia. So it's not necessarily going to localize content unless you ask it to. Now, one of the things that we know from academic assessment work in universities is that we typically want to provide our sources. We want to say where things come from. Yes, you could reference ChatGPT. No, that's not a great source, as I've already mentioned. So what might you do here to get some sources? Well, one of the things we could do is ask for, please give me 5 references for the previous answer in APA format. There we go. So 5 references, spell references wrong again. Oh, there we go. Certainly been quite jolly about things. It's giving me a Casico Human Resources book. That sounds about right. Machinsky job analysis. I don't know about that one. And I'm not sure if Paul Machinsky was still alive in 2016. That's an interesting question. It's giving me a journal article and a website. Okay. Now, my experience with ChatGPT so far with journal articles, particularly for specific things, is it makes up stuff that looks plausible like this, but may not even be a real reference. So let's have a look at this. I'm going to grab, copy and paste that into Google Scholar as a title in quotation marks. Aha! Meeting trainees, expectations and influences of training fulfillment. That title really exists. It's by Tannenbaum and others. And this says 2012. This says 1991. So it's got the year wrong. Journal of Applied Psychology, volume 97. Let's have a look here. It is, in fact, Journal of Applied Psychology, volume 76. So it's got a correct title and a correct journal, but an incorrect volume, probably page numbers too, and definitely incorrect year. So this is certainly one of the things you have to watch out for with ChatGPT, is it'll make up references that look like real references that are in fact not real references. I really want to check this Machinsky book. I don't believe it's real. I could be surprised. Oh, look, there is a job analysis methods, research applications and so on book, except it's not Machinsky, it's Levine and Brannick. So again, what this has done here probably is found some names that are commonly associated with industrial organizational psychology, like Paul Machinsky, a book title that sounds about right, slapped one together with the other, even though they're not really real, really matched up in that way, put a publisher name at the end. Let's have a look at this book here if we can. It's, okay, not telling me the publisher on these sites. If I just go to Google Books, maybe that's the best place I can find. Oh, and it is published by Sage. Okay, so it got that bit right as well. So it's a bit hit and miss with references, wrong names, wrong year, wrong journal volume. Certainly you can't rely upon the references that it gives you here. You could regenerate the response. It might try giving you some more, might try giving you some different ones. It's very fond of Casico, obviously. This time it's saying the book is an 11th edition, so I was scrolling up, but it's regenerating overwrites the previous answer. Fine's book on functional job analysis is a real one, as far as I remember. It's interesting. It's kind of giving you a little bit more about it. That's not in the form of a reference, and so on and so on. Okay, so what you can see is that it's a bit problematic in providing references. Okay, some of the formatting is not quite right. Certainly, some of the content's not quite right either. In terms of academic integrity, if you were to copy and paste the references that ChatGPT gives you into an assignment, and you put that assignment into text matching software like Turnitin will find real references, and it will show references that haven't been used anywhere else. No one has ever cited because they're not real, as not matched to anywhere else, and that will actually be a red flag to markers that those things aren't real references. So certainly don't trust ChatGPT to give you references. If you get information, you'll need to fact check it, you'll need to read things, you'll need to cite it. But it might give you a reasonable start about some of the things you might think about in terms of answering a question like, what is job analysis useful for? Okay, so what else do we need to know about ChatGPT and what it does and where information comes from and how this might be important for academic integrity? Okay, so first things first, let's think about reflection. If I go back to this question here, what is job analysis useful for? We'll say critique your answer to the question, what is job analysis useful for? One of the things we do a lot in academic work is think about our answers more deeply. We reflect on them, we revise them, and so on. What ChatGPT will tell you is it's not very good at that. As an AI language model, it's basically just scanning its database and providing generic and general answers, nothing particularly specific. It's providing some critique that's fairly superficial of what it wrote previously. Also has a very kind of generic structure a lot of the time in its answers, like this and another thing and furthermore and then in conclusion or overall this. And you find that style is repeated a lot. It's a bit of a boring writing style. Okay, what else can ChatGPT do for us? ChatGPT is pretty good at summarizing and rewriting things. If you are rewriting something with the purpose of putting it in to turn it in so that it doesn't look like something that matches in the database, ChatGPT can do that. But one of the problems is that Turnitin is getting increasingly better at identifying that kind of rewriting of stuff. The other thing is that you sometimes get meaning lost, or if you're rewriting something in a different style, it may not be appropriate to what you're doing. But using ChatGPT, for example, to tidy up your own writing once you have written something, to use it almost like a grammar check program like Grammarly, something that suggests how to make your writing better and clearer, is something that it can do fairly well. Okay, so I want to go back to some key points for ChatGPT and academic integrity. One is, look, if you take stuff word for word from here, cite it like a quote. If you paraphrase something that comes out of here, cite it as having come from ChatGPT because that's where you got it from. That's appropriate academic conduct, demonstrating the source of your information. If you are considering using ChatGPT to do something like generate you some references because you actually haven't gone and read anything, you're likely to run into trouble because the references are likely to be wrong or fabricated in some way and in other ways a problem. In general, of course, if you're just providing the answer that comes out of here rather than your own thinking and reading, you're not demonstrating your learning, you're not obtaining any kind of marks or qualification based on the knowledge or your demonstration of learning. And ultimately, you're at university as a student to learn, so it's a bit of a waste of your time. Having said that, what ChatGPT can do is help you to tidy up your work, augment your work, give you a starting point to think about things, and it can be quite a helpful tool. So what I'd recommend any student do is have a play with it, have a fiddle with it, test out its capabilities, because what we're going to see into the future is large language models, generative artificial intelligence programs like this being really helpful to make us more productive in the workplace. At the same time, you need to be able to exercise your own judgment on the quality of the content, and that's where your own thinking, your own experience, and your wider reading and your more specific reading than what can go into any kind of database is really important to be considering and to consider using and to show that you can use and think about. So ChatGPT is a tool, but it's certainly not a replacement for your own ability to do your academic assessment work at university. So that's my very brief introduction to ChatGPT and to give you some thoughts on using it in a way that is following established rules of academic integrity, such as not plagiarizing, not using it in ways that are covering up the fact that you haven't done the work yourself. Definitely use this. It's a great tool, but when it comes to answering questions. Have a go yourself. Maybe get ChatGPT to help you tidy up your work. Or if you use ChatGPT as a starting point, critique it, fact check it, think about it. Because as you can see with the things like the fake references, its output is not always trustworthy. Okay, so that's it from me. I hope this video is helpful to you, and if it is, I'm glad of that. All right, thank you for your time. Bye.